A very good morning to all of you, my dear children.
We are now on the last phytohormone, that is the fifth one, abscisic acid. The abbreviation of abscisic acid is ABA. The chemical structure of abscisic acid is like this. Abscisic acid is a mildly acidic growth hormone which functions as a general growth inhibitor by counteracting other hormones like auxin, gibberellin, cytokinin or the reactions mediated by them. Let us start our discussion with the discovery of abscisic acid. In mid-60s, 3 independent researchers worked on 3 inhibitors. One group of scientists worked on the phytohormones and they discovered a compound responsible for inhibition of the growth and they termed inhibitor B. Adicott et al. In 1963 isolated a hormone from mature cotton balls. They observed this hormone helps in abscission, so they named it as abscission 2. Simultaneously, Waring and Cornforth isolated a substance that can induce bud dormancy. They named the substance as dormine. Later on, it was found that these 3 substances, inhibitor B, abscission 2 and the dormine, all were chemically identical and they were named as abscisic acid. Mainly, it acts as growth inhibitor. Now let's start the function of abscisic acids. First, dormancy. Abscisic acid acts as a growth inhibitor as it induces dormancy of the buds and the seeds towards the approach of winter. As it induces dormancy, abscisic acid is also called dormine. It is believed that it is due to the inhibition of protein and RNA synthesis. I would like to explain in detail. It is believed that ABA lowers or affects the process of RNA translation. That means RNA or the protein synthesis is affected. Therefore, the enzymes like alpha amylase, protease, which are required to break down the reserve food materials like starch, protein, which are present in the seeds or the cotyledons, are not produced. Therefore, it is believed that ABA's role is not to allow the translation to take place. As these enzymes are not synthesized, seed cannot be germinated, thus it induces dormancy. Whereas gibberellins do the opposite function. Gibberellins promotes the synthesis of alpha amylase, protease, which are required to break down the starch or the protein present in the seed or the cotyledon. Thus, gibberellin promotes seed germination, induces seed germination. The bud as well as the seeds sprout only when abscisic acid is overcome by gibberellin. I hope it is clear, isn't it, my dear children? Now the next important function is senescence. Abscisic acid stimulates senescence of leaves by causing destruction of chlorophyll. It is an antagonistic effect of cytokinin. What is senescence? That is the aging of the plant parts, aging of leaves. If the chlorophyll content gets reduced, then the leaf will become yellow. No more required old mature leaves and fruits should fall down from the plant. That is called this falling of leaves, fruits, flowers are called abscission. ABA promotes abscission of leaves, flowers and fruits in plants. It promotes falling of leaves, fruits and flowers. Actually, what happens when the leaf matures? It is the petiole. At the junction of the petiole to the stem, a layer is formed at the time of abscission, which is called abscission zone or the abscission layer. In this layer, at the time of abscission, there will be deposition of suberin, and we know that suberin is impervious to gaseous exchange and the water exchange. Therefore, this suberin layer does not allow the supply of the water from the stem to the leaf, and also it inhibits the transportation of the minerals from the stem to the leaf. So ultimately the leaves become yellow in color, and at the same time in this abscission layer there will be accumulation of the enzyme cellulase. This cellulase enzyme breaks down cellulose present in the cell wall, thus helps in falling of leaves, that is the abscission of leaves. Abscisic acid acts as anti-transpirant. It checks transpiration. During adverse situation where there is desiccation, drying environment and high temperature, stomata should be closed to check the loss of water in the form by the process of transpiration. This abscisic acid helps to close the stomata, thus reduces transpiration and helps to overcome or withstand the unfavorable environmental condition. Thus it acts as anti-transpirant. It helps to closure of stomata. Now some more functions. Abscisic acid promotes cold hardiness and inhibits growth of pathogens. Thus it helps the plant to overcome adverse environmental condition. Abscisic acid also delays flowering in long day plants. As the environment is not ready, unfavorable, abscisic acid does not allow to flower, because following flowering there will be fruit formation and the seed formation. So it is not allowed. Abscisic acid can be used to promote rooting in many stem cuttings. Abscisic acid keeps growth under check by counteracting the effect of growth promoting hormones like auxin, cytokinin and gibberellin. As the growth is primarily controlled by gibberellin, abscisic acid is popularly known as anti-gibberellic hormone. It inhibits seed germination, growth of the excised embryo, etc. abscisic acid is considered as stress hormone. Why? Because it increases the tolerance of plants in response to various types of stresses like drought, waterlogging, and other adverse environmental conditions. During drought, waterlogging condition, abscisic acid does not allow germination of the seed. It induces dormancy. Seeds can overcome the unfavorable condition, so it helps to overcome the situation. If there is high temperature desiccation, then abscisic acid helps to close the stomata. By closing the stomata, abscisic acid checks the excess loss of water. Abscisic acid does not allow the translation of certain proteins which acts as enzyme like alpha amylase and proteases. These enzymes are required to break down the reserve food material. So by inhibiting the gene expression, it induces dormancy, promotes dormancy, inhibits seed germination, and thus helps to overcome the adverse environmental condition. That's why it is considered as stress hormone. Now we have come to the end of this video. In a nutshell, what can we say? The functions of abscisic acid: it stimulates senescence, that is the aging of plant parts. It promotes falling of the matured or the old plant parts, abscission. It acts as antitranspirant by closing the stomata. It induces dormancy by not allowing the translation of proteins from the RNA. It delays flowering in long day plants. It promotes cold hardiness. So we can say that on certain physiological processes, abscisic acid acts antagonistically to gibberellic acid, cytokinin, or the auxin, and thus it helps to make a balance to overcome the unfavorable condition by the plants.